Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another server-side chat. Today's topic is extra credit. Now, if you notice the blowing up sun thing behind me, it has absolutely nothing to do with extra credit, although there's a chance I'll weave it in somewhere. But really, it was just way too cool to ignore. So when I saw it, I had to get that as a different background for you guys. Let me turn off this lower third here and let's talk about it. So you may have noticed that there is an extra credit item in the syllabus for our programming course. There are actually two parts to that. There's two different extra credit projects you can take advantage of. Excuse me. The first one is a writing assignment, which is to write about the differences between C# and C++ and C and Java and Objective-C, and to really describe the differences between the different languages and when you might use each one. Now, obviously, for a lot of people, the reason you'll use one language or the other is because your boss is going to say, this is the language you're going to use, and so you'll use that language. But real programmers or professional programmers often choose the language that best fits the project they're doing, or they choose the language that best fits the device they're programming for. So, for example, for the iPhone, Objective-C is pretty much the language of choice. For many Windows things, C# is the language of choice, and so forth. The other programming project is the other extra credit project is a programming project. This is freestyle programming. It is build your own, whatever you want to build within the scope of the project, and you'll get graded on it. And the idea behind this is often it's much more fun to build what you want to build as opposed to build what, I tell you to build or the syllabus tells you to build or whatever. Now, I want you to think about these projects from a variety of perspectives. And really, the two most important are your grade and your career. They're in place for both reasons. And I'm going to talk about your grade first because that's what you're going to leave the course with. And then I want to talk about why this is potentially useful for your career as well. So from a grading point of view, each of those extra credit projects are worth a total of 10 points added to one of your programming projects. Now, this is important to understand. It will not increase your final exam grade in any way. It will only take a given programming project and raise it by up to 10 points. Now, if you turn in an extra credit project that just is horrible, and I don't think any of you will do that, but if you did, it won't reduce the grade of any of your projects. It just won't raise it. So if, let's say, you got an 85 on an extra credit project and you got an 85 on one of your programming projects and you knocked the extra credit project out of the park and got a 10, you'd be able to raise that to 95. Now, as you might imagine, the existing assignment is worth 100 points, right? And the extra credit project is worth only 10 points. So you really want to optimize for the normal homework assignments because they are worth much more points overall in your grade than the little extra credit projects. Therefore, it's important to understand that the extra credit project should be additional or afterwards, not part of your main project. If you spend more of your time on the extra credit project and less of your time on the programming projects, you will lose, because even if you got a perfect score on the extra credit project and you lost 30 points off your programming project because you put time into the extra credit project, you'll notice that your grade goes down tremendously. You'd have a 70 plus 10 instead of a good grade on the main programming assignment, which might get you up to a 90 or something like that. So that's the issue with grading. Make sure the extra credit projects are done after you've put the time into your main projects. Now, I have two things in mind for these. One is that I generally would like you to complete all of your assignments prior to the exam before you work on the extra credit projects, because then you've got the time. Let's say you take, 3 months to get through all your stuff. Then if you want to work on an extra credit project, you can. Again, making sure you study for your exam because that's worth a big chunk of your grade as well. I would prefer you did not start the extra credit project until you completed all 4 programming assignments, because you'll have a much broader understanding of the programming language before you start the extra credit project, and you'll have a much more broad understanding of the scope of a project before you start it as well. And that's the next thing I want to talk about. Scope drift is a huge potential when you define your own project. It is possible to start with a little teeny idea and just completely get carried away. I don't want you to do that. I want you to make something small, something on the scale of the existing programming projects, because I want you to be able to make it and complete it and be able to turn it in, as opposed to start it, futz with it, and never finish it. Okay? So be really careful that feature creep is probably the biggest risk with certainly the freeform programming project. Something that you might think might take you a weekend could wind up taking you 3 or 4 months if you're not really firm about making sure that you're done with the features, you defined it pretty well, and so forth. Now, I will insist that you send me a short proposal ahead of time for what you want to do. Most likely what you tell me will be actually too much, and so I'll probably tell you to cut it down a little bit. And then I want you to complete that project. This is a case in almost all programming projects. It's certainly a case in almost all products and professional products. Knowing when to say that's enough is a really key part of the skill set. So, okay, the extra credit project can, either of the two projects can bring up your grade by a relatively small amount. You know, I mean, it overall in your end-to-end year points, a given extra, if your entire total grade for the course is worth 100, the extra credit projects are each worth, you know, what, about 1.5 points or so. So yes, they could get you up a letter grade, maybe if you're on the edge, but they're certainly not going to change your overall grade performance. So, you know, look at these things for a little bit of extra credit. Don't look at these things as Hail Mary plays. Okay. So in that context, why are the extra credit projects here? Well, one, they're to give you more stuff to learn. It's really useful for you to understand the differences between the languages, and it's really useful for you to have the chance and time to go build a project on your own. Those are really good. They will also give you interview talking points, and this is where it's kind of important, because, you know, you're going to be potentially interviewing with a variety of other people as you go look for gigs. And very often somebody who's a hiring manager is going to ask you about a project you worked on, may ask you about why'd you decide to work on the project, how'd you design the project, what it went into the project. And if all you turn in are the 4 projects that we've spec'd out for you in your syllabus, you won't be able to say, well, I designed this project, I cut out a few features here, I added a few features here, I interacted with my instructor on this versus that. You know, you won't be able to talk about that. You'll be able to go, well, all right, you know, I did a program that opened a text file and saved changes. Great. Okay. Whereas if you build something of your own and say, this is the intent, this is what I wanted to do, this is how I wanted to build it, you're giving much more of an impression that you're involved in the process to your potential hiring manager than you would otherwise. The fact is that with a few exceptions, the fact is that most programmers are hired based on the programming they've done, the skill they've shown, the projects they've done. So the more you have to talk about what you've built, the more you've experienced what you've built, so you can come across as understanding that and share that, the better chance you have of getting a gig. And so that's another part of the whole purpose behind this extra credit thing. And the purpose behind my whole course here with you is to get you not only somewhat trained up in the language, but also to give you an opportunity to help this increase your career potential. Now, no course is going to make you a perfect success in your career. That comes from experience and working your hardest and all that. But this may give you a bit of a leg up. So think about your extra credit projects from 2 points of view. A very small, not top priority bump in your grades. Remember, not top priority. Your projects in your exam and studying for your exam are your top priority. And secondly, a potentially good tool for your career in terms of giving you something to talk about, giving you some more experience, giving you some more hands-on time with the language, and giving you something to play with, design, and maybe even have some fun with, you know. So those are the two sides of this puzzle. But it's really important that you keep in mind that your assigned projects and assigned study for the exam is going to determine your grade, and I want you to make sure that those come first. If you get done early, or if you are really excited and want to keep going, play with the extra credit. They will definitely help you in the long run, but focus on, you know, the assignment act first before you take it on the road with an extra credit project. Thanks, everybody, as usual. Well, almost there. There we go. As usual, my name is David Gortz, and go forth and program.